My name is Vishal Sachdev here. I'm the director of the Illinois Maker Lab and a faculty at the College of Business. And we have here Professor Aric Rindfleisch with me, who's a professor in marketing and also leading the Coursera course on digital marketing. So this is, a first in a series of interviews with faculty who are teaching the courses with Coursera. And we have a lot of inputs from students on on the forums and also on our social media platforms about how the experience is for you. And we are also going to launch sort of a student interview series to showcase what students are learning in the course. But this is our first in our instructor interviews to find out how it's like for professors such as Aric to teach this course. So thank you, Aric, for the opportunity to talk to you. First of all, introduce what you're doing with the course. What is the course about?
Okay. Well, thank you, Vishal. Well, this course, I believe, is a very unique course. If you took a look at syllabi of digital marketing courses around the world, you probably see something quite different than what you're seeing in this course. Yeah. And there are, I think, two reasons for that. First of all, my expertise is more broad-based in terms of marketing as a whole and how it's shifting due to technological shifts, rather than more of the typical micro-focus of most digital marketing courses.
Sure.
If you look at these syllabi, you'll find that most of them focus really on one particular part of marketing, the promotion part. So in the class, we talk about the 4 Ps: product, promotion, placement, and price. And so most existing courses really focus on just that second P. So my class is more broad in scope. So the first reason was my focus was across my expertise across all 4 Ps rather than just one. So the course reflects my expertise. But also, given that this course is part of a broader specialization that contains many courses, including the capstone course that you're teaching, is if you look at the other courses that are being taught by Kevin and Rhiannon and the course that you're doing, the capstone course, that would account for about 80-90% of most digital marketing syllabi.
Sure.
So the second reason was there wasn't much left for me to cover. So what I tried to do was, rather than recreate what is being done in the other courses, create a unique learning experience by providing a backdrop of how the more specific digital marketing tactics and tools fit to this broader marketing landscape.
Sure. Great. I mean, so in terms of, you said this is the first course in the specialization, and I think we launched on the end of April, and this is, we're recording this in early or mid-June, and we have about 15, well, not 15, I think we have about over close to 1,500 people who have graduated, but we have about 100,000 people who've come into the course, and several of them have engaged. In terms of, this is a huge number, and we know this was your first time trying out an online course. So what is that, how is that experience?
That's a good question. It's my first time teaching anything online.
Okay.
Not just a massive course, but any teaching at all.
Okay.
So most of my teaching has been face-to-face. And in my 17 years of being a professor, I taught about 2,000 students. So just as you mentioned, we've had almost 1,500 people graduate. In just the first 6 weeks, I've taught nearly as many as I've done in my entire career across 17 years. So that's a big change for me. So clearly the scope is different. That's a different experience. And also scope in terms of not just the number of students, but where they come from. So my class, I think like many Coursera classes, only about 20% of the students come from the U.S.
Yeah.
And we have students from all over. We have students from around 200 different countries.
Yeah.
So the big countries are the U.S., India, Brazil, and a number of European countries as well. So that's very different. So trying to find examples that relate to people across this diversity, across all these different places, was a bit challenging. I try to keep that in mind and try to use examples, at least some of them, like Coca-Cola, that most people would know about. So I had to think about things that I normally wouldn't think about in terms of what can I show. Another challenge we found is because of the copyright laws. usually we teach a class and we'll pull up anything on YouTube, for example. But here we have to use publicly available images, public domain images. So that constrains what we can show. And speaking of YouTube, many of our students in places like China may have access to YouTube.
Sure.
So that was challenging from a course preparation standpoint, deciding what examples to talk about and what can we show in terms of learning materials.
I think so. Looking at the data from the course, we did see that the course is doing sort of has a more global flavor than some of the typical Coursera courses. So I think we found that the number of people from the US was actually less than average than other courses, but so we had a broader spectrum of people. And talking about engaging with such a global audience, so one of the feedback that several students have given on various channels inside and outside is that you were very highly engaged with the course, which is not typical for a massive online course.
Sure.
So in that engagement with students, any particular stories that you'd like to share with us?
Well, first of all, I enjoy engaging with students, and I don't really understand why other Coursera instructors don't do this.
Okay.
After all, these are topics that interest me.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't I want to engage in these topics with all these people around the world giving me ideas? So for me, it's a natural thing. So first thing I do every morning, I get up and I spend about an hour browsing the site and absorbing what people are saying, trying to answer questions that I can't. I can't answer all the questions, so some things I don't know about, the technical aspects.
Yeah.
So I find it very engaging.
Okay.
So some of the great things that happened in the course, one of the first things that happened was there was a Spanish language group that was formed.
Okay.
So we have over 100 people who are Spanish speakers from around the world who formed a support group. Now, it's been a long time since I spoke Spanish, so I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. But what my Spanish-speaking friends who have seen the conversation say they're very engaged in the content.
Okay.
And we also have a similar group of Portuguese speakers, mainly from Brazil. That's about 62 people showing in. And most recently, so in addition to this virtual discussion, we also have a physical meetup. So we have this Friday around 7 a.m. Illinois time, Central Standard Time. There'll be a meetup in Manila, Philippines, of about 25 learners from that area. We'll be getting together to talk about the course, and I'll try to Skype in to join the conversation on Friday, on Friday morning.
Okay. I think so. We are seeing a lot of groups forming around the course, sort of self-interest groups, and we are also facilitating that with our social media channels. Given the fact that your course is the first in the series, what would your advice be for what is the outcome for students who go through the entire cycle? Because it's a pretty long cycle. You start and you finish, with my course, perhaps if you've started in April, you get the opportunity to finish everything by December.
Yeah.
But what's the payoff for students? What do you think?
That's a good question. Well, this is something brand new, right? Coursera and massive open online courses is a new phenomenon. So we're all trying to figure out exactly what does this mean for higher education more broadly. But one thing that we know here in the U.S. is that over the past 20 years, since I was a college student, the cost of higher education increased dramatically. So the increase in the price of higher education actually is higher than the increase in healthcare costs.
Oh, okay.
And right now in this country, student loan debt is higher than credit card debt. So we have many students graduating who owe thousands of dollars, and it's difficult, to make that investment pay off. So now we find a number of young people are questioning the value of a college degree. So we're at this point of having, let's say, a higher education bubble.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, I think, in this course and more broadly, this platform is enabling us to bring those costs of access down and making education more available. So we see now Coursera has at least 1,000 courses, if not more, available. But surprisingly, there are actually very few marketing courses.
Okay.
So my course, Marketing Digital World, was actually only the second marketing course available on the entire Coursera platform. Yeah. And there was nothing at all like what we're doing here at Illinois with the digital marketing specialization. So this is something that you can't get anywhere else on this platform. So we're providing a unique service, and I think for the price of nothing, if someone doesn't want to get verified, but to get a verified certificate for a very low price of less than $80 US a course, you can have access to knowledge that would typically be priced much higher. And I think so. What we're seeing in the course, we're seeing right now in my course at least, some digital marketing professionals who are trying to basically check that their skills are current.
Yeah.
So for them, that seems to be a good investment. There are some folks who are switching to marketing. They're doing something else, then they want to get engaged in marketing. This provides a low-cost way to test the waters, rather than investing in a 4-credit program at an established physical institution, for example. And I think there are a number of folks who just have interest in learning the content or bits and pieces of the content, like 3D printing, for example.
Yeah.
And so they may just go to that module and engage with 3D printing, which is fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to consume the whole course. You can consume as much as you like.
Yeah.
And that not just the low cost, but that small modular size, you be able to take bite-sized modules of content, which I do all the time on Coursera myself as a Coursera learner, wouldn't be available in a traditional course.
True.
You can't just come and say, I want to attend this lecture in October, and I missed the rest of the semester, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very unique platform, and again, there's not a lot of marketing knowledge out there on Coursera, so we're really unique in what we're doing.
And to take your modular concept a bit further, so you can take these modularly and then you can build it out.
Sure.
And we also launched the online MBA, so you can sort of bring all of this together and even go towards a full degree as well.
Sure.
In terms of this, you mentioned that the marketing courses anyway are few, but I think this course was also one of the first to go on the on-demand model.
Right.
And that was a bit difficult for some of the students who are used to the older Coursera platform. And I'm guessing also it takes away from the traditional format of a course starts today and ends 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or something like that. Any perspectives on that for the learner and for you as an instructor?
That's a good question. Well, as an instructor, this is again my first course I ever taught online, so I don't have much to compare it with. So to me, this seems fairly logical thing to do. After all, we can download our movies on Netflix at any time. So why should this be any different in terms of access to content? Now, the challenges as an instructor, again, I mentioned because the course doesn't end. My obligation or responsibility as an instructor doesn't end either. So to me, it's almost like having you're managing some kind of condition like diabetes, right? Where you have to try to manage this every day.
Yeah.
Not that it's not suggesting this is a painful thing to do. It's actually quite enjoyable, but the idea that you have an obligation, you have something you need to manage, or you can quickly lose control of it.
Absolutely.
So that's something different. As an instructor, I'm used to starting and ending a course.
Okay.
So that part is different. As a learner, my guess is that there are, for those who have used Coursera before, that shift, it looks very different. The interface was a bit perhaps challenging for some users.
Okay.
Now, Coursera now has over 130 courses on demand.
Yeah.
So over time, this will become the norm.
Yeah. Because
it's not just us, there will be many courses in this new format.
Okay.
So soon it'll be the norm, we'll be used to it.
Okay.
Just like, every time you see the new iPhone, right, operating system, it takes a while to get used to the new system, but after a while it becomes the norm. But as a learner, I think it has the benefit of access. So you can complete it as your schedule permits. But probably one downside might be if you're someone who works well under deadlines.
Yeah.
That might be a challenge, as you don't have that constant pressure to finish. So I think you do have to be more of a self-starter and be able to be self-directed and do as well without having a looming deadline that would force. So personally, I would probably prefer to have some deadlines. But everyone's different. But overall, I think it does allow the access is probably the biggest benefit.
True. I think one of the things that even research shows, and we found it works, as you said, for some of the groups that I found, is that if you're part of a group and you sort of
Sure.
shared commitments, makes it easier to finish the course in the even in this format where you have perhaps 6 months from start to finish to get it all done.
Sure.
So, any final thoughts to or suggestions for students who are taking it or who plan to take this course?
Sure. Well, a couple of things. One thing, this is again not your typical digital marketing class.
Okay.
So I think you need to have an open mind. So for those who are looking for something very specific, if you're looking for Google Analytics or search engine optimization, we don't cover that. It's covered in other courses, specialization. But if you're interested in learning more about how marketing is changing more broadly due to the rise of digital marketing tools such as the smartphone, the internet, and the 3D printer, this is a very unique course. I don't think you'll be able to find this anywhere else.
Okay.
More practically, if you're engaged in the course, this course is a bit different than others in that we have, I think, more learning activities compared to your typical Coursera class. A typical class would probably have a bunch of excuse me. One of the hazards of working here in the Maker Lab. Your typical Coursera class will probably have a number of videos, and at the end of each module, a quiz, or maybe at the end of the course, a project of some type. In contrast, in each module of my class, I had not only a quiz, but also 2 peer-reviewed learning activities, one case and one hands-on exercise.
Okay.
I think a lot of students find this higher level of engagement to be very positive for the learning experience.
That's great.
So a lot of positive comments about the amount of work they're doing.
Oh, that's nice.
I feel they're learning more by doing these things, by applying their knowledge, not just watching a number of videos. The challenge is that with so many students, we have to rely on peer review. So we have a challenge now. Some of the students have been waiting a few days, even a few weeks to get peer review.
Yeah.
So we're really relying here on a communal effort. So even though it's a course that we've launched at the University of Illinois, the success depends heavy on the learner community.
Yeah.
Especially this class, we have so many peer-reviewed assignments. So just encourage all of our learners to please engage in peer review. I do a number of those myself from time to time. They don't take that long to do.
Okay.
We ask everyone does 3, but it'd be great if you could do more, because we have a number of folks again who are waiting to finish the course. That's what they're waiting for, is for these peer reviews.
Oh, okay.
And so I thank you for your patience while you're waiting, and hopefully we'll be able to get one processed and graduated shortly.
Great. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Vishal.